This is March Madness for dummies. So we got 18 million people. They're going to bet about $9 billion. 40 million people are going to make about 150 million brackets. But winning your bracket is not about basketball. It's about focusing on game strategy. You need to be good, but you need to be slightly different from everybody else, just like Joe was talking about in the commercial. But the questions to ask in your bracket: how many people are making brackets? Are you in a group of 20, a group of 50, group of 100? How are points awarded? Is every game worth the same amount of points? Or are those first round games won, and then the final fours are like 16 and 32? And then how many winners get paid? Is it just the first person? Is it the top three? Is it everyone in the top 50%? So those questions matter in how you make your bracket. So the number one advice, if you don't know anything about basketball, you got to avoid Duke, because they're such a heavy favorite. Everyone's betting on them. So if you pick them, you've got nothing to distinguish themselves.
You just don't want to be embarrassed.
Well, then that's your strategy. If you don't want to be embarrassed.
Go with all the favorites.
If Duke wins.
Yeah, exactly. See, Joe gets it.
If Duke wins, you can't win unless you have Duke.
Exactly.
Right.
But everyone else is going to have Duke, and then it's all about luck.
You've seen how dominant they are when Zion is
Remember,
healthy.
this is like Kentucky 5 years ago.
Can I just tell you, look, when I take Duke, I got to deal with Harwood. So, I mean, I got a million reasons not to pick Duke, because he's going to be gloating and
but it would be a win-win situation, because you would actually win and win money, and then if Duke lost,
it'd be on the same side.
Then you would
I
lose.
don't want to be on the same.
But then Harwood would lose.
I'm not on the same side as John on any other issue, so I can't do it. I can't be on the same side with
Duke. You would at
Duke.
least win money. And if they lost, you can revel in the fact that John Harwood is sad.
Do I have to? Yeah, right. Exactly.
So
do I have to change
win
it?
there.
Pick.
I mean,
so let's say their chance of winning is 25%, but 50% of people are picking them.
I know. But I've done this before where I haven't picked, like Villanova. I didn't take them last year because I don't like them, because I like Xavier. So I didn't take them, and I look, I'm like in 30th place.
Think the long run, though, right?
No, I don't know. What's the long run?
The long
Next
run
year?
is that if you win one time, it doesn't matter that you got the 30th place the other time. You don't want to be 10th place every year. Oh, every year you're pretty good. You get 10th place, but you don't win any money.
Okay. Besides Duke.
It's good to never be last place.
Besides Duke, who do we never know, do we? I mean, remember a couple of years ago, UConn won. They weren't even.
So, but here's the interesting thing.
So who do you think could win? Who? Give me three that could win. Because Virginia lost to a 16 seed last year, right?
Virginia, that was an embarrassment. I don't like Gonzaga. I don't like Virginia.
Gonzaga's year, maybe.
Nah, that's always their year. UNC, I think, is where I would put my money, because everyone's going for Duke, so there's not as many people picking UNC. What's interesting, though, is 72% of the higher seeds win their games, going back 15 years.
Right.
So people put too many upsets in the first round.
They do.
You really should only have like one or two upsets per region in the first round. And I think people go overboard.
They do, because they
that.
remember last year where it's, oh, why did I, and there's always like 5 at least, but you can't pick them. And you pick the wrong one.
So generally you want to pick almost all favorites and just pick one or two upsets.
I listen to those guys on TV. And you should never listen.
It's like CNBC.
Never listen to people on TV about
TV.
Stocks or I'm kidding. But no, I watched them on the selection show, and they picked like all of them had like 8 upsets. That's why I picked.
That guy's just trying to make a name for himself, picking all these upsets.
But last year, none of them worked.
What's interesting, though, if you were in a pool of 10 people and you just pick all the favorites without doing any upsets,
I'm going back in right now.
38% chance you're going to win. But the
if
more and more people are in the pool,
so you have to limit the size of your pool.
Yeah,
that's the number one.
The more people are in your pool, the more it becomes like a lottery, the more it becomes random chance. So you could go all favorites and actually have a good chance of winning if the pool is small.
So tell me this, you're the expert on this. Do you win the bracket every year in your pool? Like, have you back-tested
You were okay last year.
I do pretty well
you
every
did well
year.
last
I'm usually like a top 5 guy. But as we know, that last couple of steps is
So this is like your new line. You can teach the seminar on how to do better in your bracket.
That's what I should be doing.
You're going to be teaching that like as a side business.
Now that gambling is legal, there's a lot of avenues.
I was second 2 years. I did have North Carolina 2 years ago. Maybe
2 years ago, these kids are in school for 1 year. 2 years ago is like generations
was
ago.
It 2? I may not have even been to. I can't remember. Villanova last year, and then North Carolina before that, and then Villanova before that.
If you don't know anything else, the one thing to look at is how many three-pointers they attempt. Not how good they are, how many they attempt, because that introduces volatility. So if you're looking for upsets, the underdog schools that shoot a lot of threes, they may get hot, and then they may beat a Virginia. But the good schools that rely on threes, they may get weak, and then they might lose. Think about the Houston Rockets in the NBA last year. They missed 27 straight threes. They kept shooting them, they missed them, and then they lost.